how much change took place in these last 25 years. First, we recognize progress on the economic front, but the situation was at that point still not very promising. Amar je RMG sector chilo oi shomoy, it was still largely a tailoring establishment. Baire theke kapod asche, yarn asche, we are putting this together in making garments. And oi shomoy it was still uncertain ki oi kotogulu value added hote pare ekhane in the garment sector. Amar industrial diversification khub durbol chilo at that time. We were beginning to have industries with some local market, but nothing very significant. Our migrants were coming forward and they were returning and bringing back foreign currency over there, but the birat ekta boom holo na ekhane. So in the middle of 1996, we are talking about a situation where the remittances were still less than 10 billion, exports were roughly around that range, and the widening and diversification both in agriculture and industry also chilo na. Now when you look at Bangladesh today, as we have reported in this book, Jebabe Akhtar and then Mustafiz have really taken this story forward in terms of, and then actually also I would say Salim Jahan in terms of the human development story. Very significant improvements have taken place. And if you look at the ready-made garment industry today, lot of backward linkage is taking place. Most of the fabric is being locally produced, yarn is being locally produced. Our remittances have now gone up to over about $20 billion. Our reserves, when we were actually having this conference, even though situation has deteriorated somewhat, but at the time of the conference, our reserves were in the range of $40–45 billion. So all those reflected at the economic level considerable change, not just in terms of growth of the economy, but in terms of reduction of poverty, in terms of improvement in human development. This was the big change which has taken place. Politically, it was very interesting because as Ronak told you, it was just after the 1996 election. And at that time, we had seen the passage of the legislation for having a caretaker government. Justice Habibur Rehman held a very credible, free and fair election where Awami League came to power after being in the wilderness since 1975. So when we are talking politics in 1996, everything was looking good. We were a role model for showing South Asian countries and other countries how to have a free and fair election through caretaker government. In fact, when I used to go to conferences in different parts of the world, people would say, I hear that Bangladesh has found a very good way to have free and fair elections. We want to know more about it. In both Pakistan, not the last election by the way, but certainly before that, and Nepal drew on the Bangladesh model of caretaker government to install caretaker system at that time. So that was the expectation. The other interesting expectation was that we were demonstrating how democracy could work through a two-party system. Ekhon sob South Asian countries moddhe golmal ache because there are many parties contesting with each other and khub unstable politics hocche oikhane. But here we had seen an effective two-party system where BNP could be elected in the first election of 1991 to 96, and then Awami League could be elected in 1996. So our expectation was that free and fair elections under caretaker government, and then two-party system contesting each other, balancing each other, and creating a stable political world. Now, look at Bangladesh today. The party which was on the streets for 2 years fighting for caretaker government, then threw the caretaker system into the dustbin, and of course the consequences have been seen over the course of the last 3 years. There may be perfectly good reasons why elections were not properly contested. But the process which was set in motion is the end result that you are seeing today. This was not the picture in 1996. So this is what you are then registering in this volume. Zildur Rehman খুবই ভালো বলেছে that at the outset of the liberation of Bangladesh, our expectations were that the economy would face the biggest challenges. ওই যে basket case kahani এসব ছিল, that was never a very sensible remark made by Kissinger and his colleagues, but the problems were insurmountable. And Norwegian economist Jus Fallen বইও লিখেছে Bangladesh the test case for development. But much of this has been changed, and up to a point in development we have become the poster child of an effective development process over here which has taken place. On the other hand, our expectation was that Bangladesh came at the end of a liberation struggle which began with a struggle for democracy. Mone ache that Bangabandhu and his colleagues to try to provide his interpretation. I don't fully agree with him, but I congratulate him on making this attempt and putting this together. Now, if you look at the success story, which is then continued, as I said, in the work of Mustafiz and Salim Jahan, they all then point to the fact that you are taking development forward. But what is the full story cannot be understood unless you read Rehan's paper on institutions, unless you read Akash's paper on inequality, and even you read sections and conclusion of Salim Jahan's paper pointing out that whilst all this progress has taken place in areas of human development, onek bhag ache, onek gaps ache in the way in which inequality is emerging.
Also, I think Mirza's paper.
Mirza's paper, I was going to come to that in the politics of it. Now, what I'm trying to tell you is that these are all connected parts of this study. So you have to understand one, to properly understand one, you have to read the other paper to get a better understanding. Now, if you look at the development story, and you look also at the Salim Rehan paper on the continuing weakness of our institutions, Pratishta. This is the very central element. Our judicial system kemon chole? Is it functioning in a way that it gives equal rights to everybody? Everyone goes to the court and they will get one result, or A goes and he will get one judgment, B goes, he will get another judgment, C goes, he will get another judgment. If you go to the police to file a case, will they treat everyone in the same way? If you go to the banking system, who gets loan rescheduled, who gets loans written off, who can carry on and perpetuate default? You don't have any functioning institution. Same with the Election Commission, same with the Anti-Corruption Commission. So all these functioning or dysfunctional institutions are captured in a numerical way by Salim Rehan, but they also tell the story of both the politics and the state of the economy and যে সমস্যা চলে আসছে এখানে as to what particular problems you are facing over here. Obviously, the debt default crisis, which is at the center of the governance problems, which was addressed by Mirza. He again points out that you now have the emergence of a new and powerful class collectively organized in the financial sector. You have another influential force in the RMG sector. So that on the one hand, it is impacting on state of governance. On the other hand, it is impacting on the state of politics. So in this, you are witnessing then a new set of forces which have emerged over the course of these 50 years, but which have begun to consolidate and accelerate in the last 25 years and even more recently. Banking defaulter upre. Ekonto we are looking at the advanced stage of deterioration in the banking system because of that. But the problem was identified when myself and Akhtar Mahmood, who was then just graduating from Dhaka University, did a study of bank default in the development finance institution. The messages here are that the possibilities of Bangladesh becoming a really transformed, dynamic country going in the direction of Vietnam, which is really now the relevant role model for us in terms of development, is there. But it points out to you all the challenges which you have to face if you want to go down that road. The one positive issue is that we are capable of going there. Onek desh ache, which however much you say that you have these problems and this should be done, there is very little realistic possibility that these countries are going to move in that direction. We have that possibility, and the greatest resource that has been captured also in this work lies in the fact that our people have enormous entrepreneurial talent, which had been suppressed for 200 years under British and then Pakistani rule. The liberation of Bangladesh liberated these entrepreneurial talents of the people.